Allie here. Today we're going to be going through each course that I studied for in the basic sciences, how I studied for it. It's going to be broken into 2 parts because it's a lot of classes, so stay tuned. If you guys haven't already checked it out, I made a video called From C's and D's to A's and B's. And this one kind of goes into more depth about how I studied for anatomy and histo because those were my first semester courses. I'm going to go through my first semester courses again, but this time I'm focusing more on the resources I used. So I'm going to break it into info, questions, if there was a shelf for that course, how I studied for the shelves, and personal things that I also added into my study habits to be successful. So for those of you who don't know what shelf is a national board exam that helps you to kind of get an understanding of if you're on the right track studying for courses before it comes to comp and STEP. And I know not every school has shelf, but if you do have to take shelves, I'm gonna give you the tips on how I take them. So as you guys know, for first semester, I took anatomy, histo, that patient doctor's course, and another course which I don't think is actually like an every med school course, so I'm not really gonna focus on it. We're just gonna be focusing on the main courses. I'm a visual person, so I'm going to make sure that you guys see the books and see the resources, like their logos and their trademarks, so you know how to go find them on your own. I will be also dropping it in the video description, every course's resources that I used. Okay, for starters, I'm gonna talk about anatomy and embryo. Now, my first go around with embryo was horrible. Part of it because I hated it and did not want to learn it, so mentally my brain just shut it all out. But my second go around, I'm like, Allie, if you want to be an OBGYN, you're gonna have to get this stuff together. So I found out that I actually liked Ninja Science Nerds. Their explanation of embryo was great, but I also had a great professor at my second school, so I didn't need as much external help with it. Either way, like I said, I'm gonna break this into questions, info, shelf, and if there's a personal thing that I did on top of everything, then I'm gonna discuss that as well. So for anatomy, as far as questions go, you guys should know by my last video how much I emphasize the need for questions. So I used BRS and Lippincott anatomy books for those practice questions. As for info, my professors wrote a book which is accessible to any student. One of them being 100 concepts of anatomy. It might be 125, I think they updated it. They also created an anatomy photo atlas. I use that especially for lab, and I use their lecture slides. These are amazing professors, so I didn't really need too much external help. Personally, I would reorganize the notes, so almost for every lecture, I would try to make the notes fit more into my brain style. I redrew their images. My professors loved to draw, so I would draw. And then I also attended all the lab and the TA stuff. Histo is not an easy subject to learn, and I had to learn to love it again at my second school. My first school, I hated histo. But what I would use for the questions, in my last video I talked about how my teacher wrote out key questions, so I would do those. I would do the formatives. There was a website he suggested. I think it's down technically, but you can still access the archive, and it's called Blue Histo. I will be providing the link, and so you guys can see a screenshot or an image of what that website looks like now, and Lippincott Histology for questions. As for info, I used the lecture slides, and if you want to see more images, there was a guy on YouTube known as Shotgun Histo, and he would actually go and to like the histo path slides, and he would show you guys everything that there was to see. Lastly, personally, I would literally split the screen on my laptop, and I would have the professor's keynotes, which was like detailed information, and I would have the images from his lectures on the other side, and I would just make sure that while I'm reading information, I'm seeing things at the same time, because not all questions are identification and not all questions are strictly detailed, so it worked. I almost forgot to tell you guys about how I studied for histo shelf. Histo shelf is horrible. My first school didn't even do it. It's that horrible, especially for a first semester student, because the way shelves are set up, They're made for like advanced students, and that's what our teachers had to explain to us. If you do horrible on this, just so you know, it's okay, because you guys don't even know. I think they had Phys and stuff on there, and we don't know Phys, we're first semesters. So yeah, Histo shelf, I don't even know. I think I said, oh yes, there was a student, he took the shelf and he remade it. He remade some review slides, and those are amazing. I can try to see if I can attach the PDF. I just don't want him coming and trying to sue me. His name's there, so it's all him. I own no rights to the property, okay? Don't sue me. I have no money. Patient doctors course, I took that first semester, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I'm going to give you guys just the overview because it's not something I can really break down into each semester. What you basically need to know is how to interview the patient. So my advice for this is, if your school follows the Cambridge model, you just need to memorize that checklist. But if memorization is not that easy of a concept for you, you just need to practice it. Just make it natural, make it part of how you would actually talk to a patient. So for instance, I mean, I've been doing this so long, I can do it for you guys offhand. Hello, my name is Leah Al-Islam. I'm a third year medical school student. I've been asked by the attending to come in today and ask you a few questions. Is that all right with you? Could I get your name? Could I get your age? What would you like for me to call you? Okay, what brings you in today? Once you establish their chief complaint, then you would just go into what I call the what, when, where, why, how. So you have to figure out the chief complaint, which is the what. You already know the who. Why, what do you think caused this, which is the why. Where is it? Does it radiate? Does it move? Is it in one spot? Can you point to that for me? How would you rate it? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you describe it? So all of those things, just make it as simple as you possibly can, and if you can, just jot out an outline before your OSCEs, that helps as well. Now, as you advance further into the PD courses at my school, it goes from strictly interviews to doing physical exams, so testing the eyes, testing the limbs, the nerves, and all of those things. I would say this part kind of did scare me because it went from just, let me ask you 1,000,001 questions to, okay, now I have to remember how to move the arm, to test the wrist, the fingers. Basically, I would say just practice. Find your friends, find some students, find your family members, and just say, can I just practice with you guys? If you don't really know, like we would get an outline of all of the things to do for the physical exam. If you don't know what the outline is talking about, I would YouTube it or talk to the professor or even demonstrate in front of the professor and ask, am I doing this right? The main thing about OSCE is, yes, it's nerve-wracking. The second they start that timer and they tell you go, and you know you only have this amount of time to ask questions and this amount of time to perform the physical exam, I used to freak out too. It's natural. The key thing is just keep level, keep your head together, because I remember one OSCE, my friend was actually the standardized patient, and I think he was just trying to hear me or understand me, and he kept making faces, so that was freaking me out. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What am I saying? Do I sound stupid? And so that got into my head. I walked out of there, I cried in the bathroom. I ended up getting an A. So you guys just need to remain calm. Don't assume anything, just wait until you get your scores back. Biochem. I'm going to be completely honest. I have this thing, I freak out a lot. I freak out over dumb stuff. Yeah, I do. So basically, biochem was one of those classes, before I even stepped inside it, I was freaking out. I was like, I wasn't good at biochem in undergrad. How the heck am I gonna take it in med school? And the good news is, it's a lot of clinical diagnoses. That's what I freaking love about biochem in med school. It's amazing. There is unfortunately a lot of cycle memorization that has followed you from undergrad if you were a science-based major. You are going to have to remember how the cycles flow. With this, I just would redraw the cycles until I got it together. I would highlight the key, like if it's like an irreversible enzyme, just know that. If it's something that requires something, know that. That's basically biochem. Just think clinical diagnosis, key enzymes, and what happens if stuff goes wrong. That's it. So after I got over the initial freak out, questions, I used Integrative Medical Biochem. I also used her own questions. She was great at creating like this very scary session right before our exams, and she would just grill you with these very scary questions, and you'd be like, crap, I don't know anything, and the test is Monday, like what are we about to do? But then you go home, you study, and you're so scared that you study so well that when the test actually comes around, you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. Information-wise, sometimes things do get complex. Boards and beyond, that man right there, he's a solid. He will be able to simplify things for you. Some people complain, oh, he's too monotone for me. I don't care about monotone. You simplified, you explained things in a way that makes it so simple I got it. So I'm thankful for him. And I also would read through Kaplan Biochem sometimes, just an extra thing, just extra, you know. Phys! Okay, Phys was not as horrible with my professor at my second school. She was amazing. She was one of those people who just was like born with the gift to teach. Because of that, unfortunately for you guys, I do not have too many external sources to suggest for you. However, my first school, I didn't have an amazing physiology professor, so I learned about osmosis, and osmosis is great for physiology. They're great at breaking that stuff down for you guys. What else? Questions. She suggested Kaplan Phys. I didn't even know she was an amazing professor. And yeah, I just used to do the class questions that she would provide. So I'm suggesting what she's suggesting, and she's a great professor, so you guys should listen to her. Lastly, Shelf came around, boom chick pow, first aid in Uworld. That's all you know. Biostats was one of those courses I hated. I'm lucky I had a fun teacher, but I hated biostats. Fortunately, there is Boards and Beyond if you're trying to get down the information. Again, great simplification, great explanations. You've got it if you go through boards. And also, I used Kaplan Behavioral as for the questions. That's it for my first 2 semesters. I'm going to go into 3rd, 4th, and 5th next and give you the rest of my resources. I hope that this has been helpful. You guys know what you have to do, but I'm gonna let Lily tell you.
Hey guys, it's Lily here. I'm telling you to like and subscribe to Dark Alley. Yay!